What's going on, everyone? Thanks for checking out this video. Today we're going to look at a new bike from ASYNC. They call this one the Model L3, and it's a 26x4 fat tire bike. It's got a very stylish, modern looking frame, but it's also very functional with the step-through design. So let's check it out. All right, folks, we're checking out the Model L3 from ASYNC, and a couple things to know right off the bat. So first is it can be programmed as a Class 2 or Class 3 e-bike. They're also going to release a step-over model, very similar to this. So if you're looking for a step over instead, they'll have that available. There's going to be multiple color options, although I don't have the list of additional colors right now. At the time of filming this, they're still finalizing their pricing. However, I think it's going to land somewhere around the $1,600 mark. And if you buy it on pre-sale, it might be a couple $100 cheaper. Hey guys, quick update. This bike is now live on the ASYNC website. So I got to see the color options. They're black, white, red, turquoise, and also a special edition color. They also finalized the pricing, and right now it's selling for $12.99, which seems surprisingly low for a bike with these specs. And they did give me a $50 discount code for all of you to use. So I'll put that in the description below, which means you can get this bike for $1,250. Seems like a pretty decent deal. So if you're fat tire bike shopping, that's definitely one to check out. I'll link everything below. Back to the video. Now that you know some of the very basics, let's start walking through some of the components. We'll talk about our ride experience as we go. 4 tires, 26x4 Kenda Crusade. I really like the Crusade pattern. It's pretty quiet on the street, good grip. It is not a quick release, not really a through axle. It's got these little bolts right here, these little Allen head bolts. That's what holds your front wheel on. I've only seen this on one other bike. They're very easy to install and they seem to hold the wheel on just fine. No issue with that at all. If we spin around to the other side, check out that we've got hydraulic disc brakes, 180 millimeter. They're Logan is the brand name. See Logan on the levers there. They were just fine. I had no problem with the braking power, plenty of braking force. They were quiet. They didn't squeal or chatter at me. So happy with the braking system on the L3. You do have a front suspension fork, and the brand name on the bottom of the fork says Trauma. I've never heard of Trauma brand before, but it worked just fine. It does have multiple levels of adjustment here on the top, so I was able to get it dialed into where I like it. No issue with the forks at all. The L3 is going to come with a set of metal fenders, and they tell me that there'll also be a rear rack included in the purchase price. However, on this prototype bike, they did not send me a rear rack, so I'm not sure exactly what that will look like, but you should get a rack included with your purchase price. For your lighting package, you've got a headlight here at the front, and then you also have tail lights and brake lights, and I'm going to turn them on because they're kind of cool. All right, I got everything turned on. So front headlight, and then also at the back here, brake light and tail lights. So here's your tail lights. They're dual tail lights. There's one on each side of the back of the frame. Very cool design. I like that a lot because you can see it from both sides and from directly behind. And then when you pull the brake lever, they just get brighter. If I can show you here, it comes through on camera. But headlight, tail light, brake light, perfect. I think that's really all you need on an e-bike. All right, now let's focus in on this frame. I think this is one of the selling features of the bike, that the frame is just very modern looking, very cool looking. I really like this frame design. A lot of the bikes that I see are very curvy, very rounded. This one is anything but. Everything is squared off. The only round tubes on this thing, I think, are the seat posts, the handlebars, and the forks. Everything else has got like a flat side to it. Give you some close-up so you can see what I'm talking about, but very squared off design. But I'm digging it. I think it looks really good. And just to give you some dimensions, the step-through height, so to the bottom here is like 17 inches. So to get your foot through, it's about 20 inches. And the minimum seat height was 32 inches. That's pretty low. That's great. Accessible for shorter riders. I usually have the seat up around maybe 35, 36 inches when I ride, and I was able to get this into a nice, comfortable riding position. I really didn't get that leaned forward riding feel from it, which I don't like. I like to be more upright when I ride. And these handlebars come up reasonably high. I think from the ground to the top of the bars is 44, maybe 45 inches. And they got kind of a big rise in them there to bring them back to you. So I found it to be a comfortable ride position. My wife, who's 5'4" tall, she also tried this bike, had no problem getting off and on the bike. The seat went plenty low enough for her. It was a comfortable ride position, so no issue for her to take a spin around the block on this one. I really do feel like this is one where it's a bigger bike, yet a shorter rider can still get on it and ride. And I did step on my scale with this bike. It weighed in at 78 pounds, ready to ride with the battery included. All right, let's zoom in on the battery pack here. It's integrated into the frame. It blends in nicely. You really don't see it much at all, just this little seam right here, and it drops out the front. There's a key on the other side So you turn the key, it pops the battery, and then you have to push the button right here, and that will allow the battery to drop out of the frame. This prototype has a little bit different battery units of like 48 volt, 14 point something. The production models will have a 52 volt, 15 amp hour battery pack. Now with that capacity, if you're a person who rides, 20, 25 miles for your rides, you'll probably be just fine. If you're gonna plan on being out all day on this bike, going 50, 60 miles, you're probably gonna have some range anxiety. Depending on how much you pedal, you're probably gonna be pushing the limits of this battery pack. Now, with regard to pedaling, this bike is equipped with a torque sensor. So it is keeping track of how much pressure you put on these pedals, and it's delivering power from the motor accordingly. Harder you push, the more power you get. So there's good and bad about torque sensors. I kind of like them. It's very intuitive, it's like pedaling a regular bike. The harder you push, the more power you get, the faster you go. However, if you're a person that just wants to ghost pedal and not really put much effort into the pedals, well, it's not really going to work for you. You're not going to get the power out of the bike. Now, I will say this torque sensor worked really, really well. It was very responsive, it engaged quickly, and it really tracked the amount of pressure I was putting on the pedal. So it worked really well. For the gearing, you've got a 46 tooth chainring up front, single-sided, and in the back is a 1428 freewheel. Now, unfortunately, this prototype was actually locked down at 20 miles an hour. So I couldn't go faster than 20 with the throttle or with pedal assist. So I wasn't really able to test the top speed. But I've been on enough of these bikes to know that with that gearing of 46 up front, 14 as your lowest cog in the back, I'd be willing to bet you start getting that ghost pedal feeling when you're up at the 28 mile per hour mark. But there is plenty of room here between the chainring and the frame that you could put a larger chainring on in the future if this one didn't work for you. Now let's jump back up to the handlebars. I'll show you all the controls up here. So you've got round rubber grips. They're locking grips so they do not spin in your hand. That's really nice. And this is your shifter. It is a twist shifter. First time I've ever had this on an e-bike before. It says Revo Shift 7-speed. And I mean, it worked really well. It pops right into gear real quick. So no issue. I accidentally twisted it a couple times thinking it was throttle. But other than that, it worked really well. Your Logan hydraulic brakes. Over on this side, you've got a thumb throttle, left-hand thumb throttle. I'll turn the screen on for you so you can see. It's a small screen off to the side, but it is very clear and readable. Speed's your biggest thing there. You got a battery indicator, pedal assist modes, trip meters, all that stuff that you need. Headlight buttons on the top. And I'll jump into the settings real quick so you can see what that looks like. Very easy to program. Display settings, advanced settings. Unfortunately, this one was pretty locked down. I wasn't able to change much in the settings because it's a prototype bike, but that's your display. If you like small off to the side displays, clear and readable, you're gonna love this one. If you want a big, huge in-your-face display screen with giant numbers right here in the middle, that's not this bike, but I'll leave that up to you to decide. The seat is a DDK, and it's pretty cool looking. It's like this two-tone gloss black and flat black. It's very thin though. There's not much padding in the seat at all. So depending on your preferences, you may want to swap that out. All right, and what else did we miss? The rear hub motor. So this is a 750 watt geared hub motor. I didn't see any brand on it other than ASYNC, so I'm not exactly sure what brand motor it is. It was very quiet though. You could barely hear this thing running as I was riding. And I did take a bunch of ride footage and performance footage, so we can check that out now. All right, hill climb test. We test all the bikes right here at the same spot, same hill, and we time it going up. This is a 750 watt bike. Most of the 750s will climb this hill about 22 to 25 seconds. So let's see what this Model L3 can do. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, we're off and running. Climbing nicely. No pedaling effort from me at all. It's just throttle only. So it's dragging 180 pounds up this hill. Gonna make it, absolutely no problem. See how fast. And we cut the time right up here. Time. I mean, no problem climbing the hill with no effort from me. Going just off a feel, I'd say that's probably right in range. Felt solid, so decent hill climb power. Testing our brakes on the way down here. Let's do a hard stop here. Nice, smooth, controlled stop. Brakes are Logan, I think they are. They've been good. They haven't really been chattering or squealing at me. That's always a good sign. Now right up here is where I would normally do a top speed run for you. However, I'm on a prototype bike. This is not the production model, so some of the functionality has been limited including the speed. It's capped at 20. This prototype, they didn't allow the speed over 20. So that's the top speed. If I just smash the throttle, it's gonna bring me up to, see it on the screen there, 19.8, right around 20 miles an hour. Same if I pedal. Torque sensor is allowing me to go, right around 20 miles an hour. It doesn't assist me after that. So I'm capped at 20 on this. I would imagine that the production models are probably gonna be like class 3, up to 28 miles an hour if you're pedaling. The torque sensor on this L3 does function really well. I mean, I've got it in turbo mode. I'm just casually pedaling here at 9 miles an hour. That's one thing I like about the torque sensors is I can just leave it in the max mode. I don't have to monkey with the pedal assist setting all the time. Because if you're not pushing hard, you're not getting a lot of power. So you can just ride around under 10 miles an hour in turbo mode. And then when you ask for power and you start pushing hard, okay, then it kicks in and it takes right off. And now we're going 20, no time flat. So I usually just put these bikes into, I'm in 6th gear now out of 7, and I leave it in turbo, and that's how I ride the whole time. I never monkey with these buttons really. You get power when you push hard, and that's how you tell the bike I need power. Ride quality is pretty nice on this one. I mean, it's a smooth ride. It feels nimble, it feels stable. It doesn't shake and rattle a whole lot. The seating position's not too bad because you got this big rise in the handlebars. There's probably like a 4 or 5 inch rise in the handlebars, so it puts you kind of upright. I like that about it. What else? The seat's hard. The seat is very hard. I would swap that out. I like thick, plush, cushy seats, so I'd swap that out. There's no suspension. It's a hardtail, so you're going to feel the bumps going off-road, but really nothing a suspension seat post couldn't solve if you wanted a little bit smoother ride. The other thing is this frame. It's got a cool design on the frame. Let me give you another look at it here. Let's spin around again this way. I want to point this out. So it's a step-through frame design. There's no top bar really. You've got this kind of extra bar that comes down here, and then this area right here is pretty wide, pretty thick. So it's got a lot of support for a step-through. It's a cool frame design, but I point this out because whenever I'm on a step-through, the frame doesn't feel as rigid, right? So here's the best way I can describe it. Whenever I get a step-through bike, I do this. I just shake the heck out of the handlebars. And normally you can feel it just wiggle through the frame like a serpent. It just kind of like a whiplash thing when you do that. You just feel the whole frame of the bike wiggle. I don't feel that on this. Whenever I shake those bars back and forth, the frame just feels straight. It doesn't have that serpent wiggle like a lot of the step-through bikes have. That's just how step-throughs are. All of them do that. All of them. They all have like that wiggle. Except that this one doesn't really have that wiggle. I'm a little surprised at that. I don't know. I mean, it's got to be the mass down by the crankset there of that frame that's keeping it more rigid, or maybe this extra top bar thingy here that's going down. I don't know, but for whatever reason, this step-through feels very solid and rigid. So it's definitely more confidence inspiring. Like, I feel like this could hold a good amount of weight. I don't know what the weight capacity limits are on it, but some of those other step-throughs I've been on, they can get kind of wiggly. You hit a pothole when you're going 15 miles an hour and the handlebars shake, and you kind of feel it just ripple through the bike. I don't really get that feeling on this. So they chose a really good frame design for the step-through. All right, let's make one more pass through here. Doing my best here to kind of relay the ride experience into a video best I can, and just point out things that I notice. The screen, it's very nice looking, small off to the side. It is readable. The speed is nice and big. I can read the speed, no problem. All of the other detail in the screen, the trip meter, the pedal assist setting, it's all very small to read. If you have poor eyesight, that's gonna be pretty hard to see. Your battery indicator is pretty small, but the pedal assist is color coded. So that helps out too. You can kind of glance down and just look at the color. So turbo is red, sports like a yellow, tour is call that like an aquamarine, and then eco is just a bright green. So you can't just glance down, look at the color and know what mode you're in. But like I said, I just keep it in turbo the whole time when I ride this. And then for your throttle, you've got a left-hand thumb throttle. I always like when the throttle's on my right hand. I prefer a right-hand twist. I'll take a right-hand thumb. This one has a twist shifter on it, and I have accidentally twisted the shifter thinking it was throttle. I'm just so used to twist throttle. Like when I first started riding this thing, I was twisting this like, oh, I'm changing gears, I'm not getting throttle. So that took me a split second to get used to, but you get used to that. All right, real quick, let's see if I can't give you a feeling for what the acceleration is like on this bike. We'll just do throttle only. 3, 2, 1, go. It's got a decent little pull off the line. It's nothing crazy, but it gets up to speed nicely. And we're at 20 right now, so maximum speed. I mean, the power's nice. The power delivery's good. It doesn't put you off balance, you know, it's not really hard hitting off the line. It's a nice smooth acceleration. Front forks feel pretty good. I mean, they have multiple adjustments in there, so I was able to get them set where I like them. Let's do one more acceleration, this time with the pedal assist. So I'll put it in, I'm in gear number 2, and we're in turbo mode, so we'll pedal assist off the line. 3, 2, 1, go. I mean, it kicks in right away. Wow, yeah. You get off the line in a hurry with that. I've been happy with the shifting on this bike. I've never had an e-bike with a twist shifter before. It says Revo Shift 7-speed, and I mean, if I go down, you hear it pop right into gear. I mean, I'm in first gear now, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. I mean, boom, it just hits right into gear. There's no chattering of it trying to jump to the next. It's a smooth, quick pop into the next gear. So it's, I don't know if I prefer a twist shifter. I think I would rather have trigger shifters, but it does work well. I'll give it that. It shifts nicely. It's pretty quiet going down the road too, because you got the Kenda Crusade tires on it. They tend to be one of the quieter tires on pavement. You don't really get that loud roaring hum. I mean, even at, we're going 25 right now. Tires are very, very quiet. I've been riding a lot of full suspension bikes lately, so I definitely noticed this hardtail going through the field. I'd probably end up putting a suspension post on this one just to take a little bit out of the bumps, but if you're gonna be whipping through a field at 25, you'll probably get off the seat anyway. Let's take it through our trail real quick. Well, I can't see anything coming with all these leaves. All the roots and rocks are hiding among the leaves. Oh, and the soft sand right there. We're doing all right. Yeah, at low speed, you don't really notice it that much. When you're trying to do everything at high speed, bumps really get you, they really shake you, but lower speeds, the tires do absorb some of it. Handlebars, nice big rise in the handlebars, so they come back to me. Round rubber grips, easy to control. Handlebars are nice and wide. I feel like I have total control over the front end of this bike, and I can kind of put this bike wherever I want to. And that is not a feeling I get with every single bike. Some of them you just don't feel like you got control over it. This one, I feel like I have total control over this thing. All right, what else to know about this L3 bike? They tell me it's got a battery management system that prevents the battery from overcharging, so you don't have to worry about that. Also supposed to help with the performance a little bit. It's got pretty good cargo capacity. You got front and rear racks. The front rack, the mounting point's kind of hidden. There's this plastic cover on the front of the head tube. If you take that cover off, then you'll see the mounting points for the front basket. So it's hidden unless you decide you want to use it. Warranty info, most of this bike is under a 1-year warranty. So motor, controller, display, brakes, torque sensor, all that's for 1 year. And then the frame and the forks are 5-year warranty. So sounds like they got you pretty covered on this one. All right, well, hopefully those clips give you a little bit of an idea what it's like riding on the Model L3. And I mean, just to summarize, its torque sensor worked really good. It was a good ride position. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to test the top speed, but they tell me the production models are going to be 28 mile/hour category. What else? It was very nimble. I like the frame design on it. The hill climb power, it was right there in range for a 750 watt bike. And this prototype is actually kind of, I would say, tuned down because there's a 48 volt battery in here. The production are going to be 52 volt batteries. So you're going to have a higher voltage battery. That might translate into even better takeoff speeds, even better hill climb power. Now, I think there's a lot of things they got right on this bike, so let's talk about those. Good tire choice, love the Kenda Crusades. The brakes, I mean, they worked great, no issue there. I think the frame design is awesome, very cool, modern looking frame. Torque sensor worked great, they got that right. The brake lights and tail lights, how they are dual brake lights on the back of the frame there, that's really cool. Just adds to the overall look of the bike. It's just a clean looking design, clean looking frame. All the wiring here goes into the headset and you don't see it anywhere else but up here on the handlebars. I really like the stiffness of the step-through frame. I was very surprised at how sturdy this was being a step-through design like that. So that's good, they nailed that. And then also the seat height, going down to 32 inches, that's pretty good. That'll allow a lot of people to get on this bike, allow a shorter person to ride a bigger bike if that's what they want. All right, so a lot of really good things about the L3, right? But to be fair, I want to bring up things too that need mentioning, that might need improvement just depending on your preferences. You've got this display screen that's small. I mean, it's clear and readable, but it's small. If you're looking for a big display, this one does not have that. It is a left-hand thumb throttle. I know that does bother some people. Left-hand thumb throttle. The seat, if you want a big, thick, plush seat, you're gonna have to end up changing that one out. And there is no accessory mount on the bike anywhere that I've seen. If you want to mount a folding bike lock or a water bottle or something like that, I don't see any mounting attachments for that. Hey everyone, quick note, ASYNC did let me know that the production version of the L3 will have an accessories mount, and it'll be located on the down tube under the seat. The battery capacity, 52 volt, 15 amp hour in the production model. So really think about how you're going to use the bike and how many miles you're going to put on it. Again, I think if you're 25 miles or less, that'll be perfectly adequate. And if you're going over that, you have to make sure that you're helping the bike out pedaling. And the last thing I'll say is the gearing. With a 46 up front and a 14 in the back, I'd be willing to bet once you're up near the 28 mile per hour mark, you're losing feeling in the pedals. So if you're going to be operating your bike at high speed a lot on a high speed commute, you may need to swap that chainring out for something a little bit bigger. All right, folks, that's everything I can think of to tell you about the L3 from ASYNC. If I missed something, definitely drop in the comments. I'll do my best to answer if I can. Thanks to ASYNC for giving me a chance to ride and test, put all this information out here for all of you to use. I really hope you found it helpful, enjoyable to watch. If you did, consider hitting subscribe. And I think that's all for today. So thank you again so much for watching.